Run like a stealthy ninja. So I want to break down this post a little bit more. I'm showing how sound is directly correlated with impact and loading. And I wanted to show what was the difference, what changed. If you look at the sound meter, there's a clear differentiation of when it goes from higher to lower right meow. And what happened is a lot of you, rightfully so, noticed that I took the jump out. Less vertical, less up and down. You'll notice that my feet stay closer to the treadmill belt in the more efficient and the quieter one. This has to do with that whole push versus pull. Ideally, notice the speed stayed the same. It stayed consistent. Can we run as soft and as quiet as possible without sacrificing speed? And what that's going to mean is less energy exerted. We can either save that energy for the long haul, for long distance running, or we can convert that energy that we're saving by going vertical, translate it into more horizontal, pushing the ground back with more force, further, and a higher frequency to run faster as well. But with the feet staying closer to the ground, this is like that paddle analogy of the canoe in the water, where after I push the water back, I don't need to pick the paddle and pull it all the way up out of the water each time. That's introducing upwards, vertical movement, which is going to translate into bounding and higher off the ground. Higher off the ground, the further we come down, the greater the amount of impact. Let's get a visual on where that sound occurs. It's right here, Newton's third law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. How much force that we're taking and how quickly we're taking it can have big effects over the long term, long distance running, as far as energy expenditure and efficiency, but also tissue loading and too much too soon and overuse injuries. So ideally, we're trying to see, can we convert vertical to horizontal? This is what gliding looks like, leaving the ground, moving purely horizontal, versus bounding is pushing the ground down and back and going up and forward. We should be able to run in a room that has a ceiling height that's our height when we're standing tall and not hit our head, and we'll cover more horizontal distance. The other thing I wanted to touch on was a lot of people talked about this looks like just walking, and I'm glad that some people brought this up. Walking and running, same direction, moving forward. Ideally, it should look different as we go from walking to jogging to running to sprinting. It should be an incremental increase in the 3 F's. Push the ground back with more force. Can't see that. We push the ground back further. We can see that. And at a higher frequency or step rate. We're trying to minimize that flight phase. What differentiates walking versus running? With running, there's a period of time where both feet are off the ground. Ideally, we talked about during that time when we're off the ground, our body's just moving horizontal, not continuing to move up and forward. But at slower speeds like 7 miles per hour or an 8:30 minute per mile pace, there shouldn't be a whole lot of flight phase. I'm not spending that much time in the air at this particular speed. What we would see is that when we go faster, incrementally faster, we start to cover more horizontal distance. The flight phase gets longer, but still stays horizontal. And you can see the big difference here between an 8:30 pace and a 5-minute pace of that flight phase and going horizontal. So at slower speeds, it shouldn't look like we're bounding and bring our feet way up in the air. If we look at this distance difference right here at a 7 miles per hour versus 12 miles per hour, if we look at how high the foot comes up, and I've done other posts on this, again, this is passive. We're not actively doing this. We're not picking our feet up. But as a result of pushing the ground back further, naturally what's going to happen is the foot's going to come up higher on its own passively. We're not trying to do that. But at 7 miles per hour, this is how close the foot stays to the ground, versus at 12 miles per hour, the foot does come up higher passively, and we'll be able to see a visual on that as well. Pushing the ground back, thinking of that paddle in the water canoe analogy, Feet stay relatively close to the ground at 7 miles per hour. And as we go faster, the feet incrementally come up higher, again as a result of pushing the ground back further with more force. But we shouldn't see these heaping big movements at slower speeds. Some guy was on the treadmill next to me, and so I wanted to show the difference of same speed, but what his mechanics look like and sound like as well as mine, to show it shouldn't be these big bounding sweeping movements at slower speeds. So he's running at 5.5 miles per hour. I'm going to be running at 5.5 miles per hour. And I want you to look at the stark difference between the two. Look at his whole body going up and down, up and down. I don't have the sound on, but it's loud. Versus feet stay relatively close to the ground. Not a big arm swing. Arms match the legs. They sync up with the legs, forward and back. Because the stride is not very long at this phase, then the arm swing shouldn't be very long. So it looks like I'm not moving a whole lot, conserving energy. So I'll leave you with this. Can we practice exerting the least amount of energy without sacrificing speed? Can you practice running as soft and as quiet as possible without decreasing the speed, and watch your heart rate go down or stay down and not go as high? Or can you run faster with the same exertion or effort level, but not wasting the time going up and down and going vertical? So while I find it extremely challenging to teach somebody to glide, pushing the ground back, moving forward on a treadmill belt that's also moving back, I think there's a lot of value in getting the immediate feedback from the sound of how loud it is and from videoing yourself being in one place. But hopefully that helps. Questions, comments, concerns, let me know down below, and I'll see you next time.